not their cholesterol levels, not their blood pressure. How could that possibly be? And so we didn't believe our own findings until other studies began to find the same thing.
In the 1950s, this place, Roseto, Pennsylvania, shocked the medical community.
From 1954 to 1961, Roseto had nearly no heart attacks for men aged 55 to 64. And for men over 65, the death rate was half of that of the United States average. Maybe it's their health-conscious lifestyle, some doctors ponder.
But no, they smoked cigars and drank wine with complete abandon.
How about their Italian food? Most of them came from an Italian village that goes by the same name, Roseto. But no, they forgot about their Mediterranean diet and fell in love with meatballs and sausages, fried in lard with hard and soft cheeses. Maybe it's what they did for work.
Well, most of them worked at slate quarries like this one, where they contracted all kinds of illnesses. So, what was their secret? If I tell you, you might not believe me, so let's look at a few more places.
This video is sponsored by Days Coffee. Get 15% off with promo code HEALTH15 at dayscoffee.com. Sardinia in Italy, Okinawa in Japan, Loma Linda in California, Icaria in Greece, and Nicoya in Costa Rica. These places have the highest proportion of people who live to be 100 years old. So Roseto, Pennsylvania, was not alone in this phenomenon. And turns out that all these places have exactly the same thing in common. What is it? Let's ask Dr. Robert Waldinger, a clinical professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School, who is conducting the longest scientific study on health and happiness in history. They questioned over 700 men about their jobs, family life, and health, and studied their medical information, from blood tests to brain scans. They started this study in 1938.
What we started to find when we looked at happiness, and we looked at what predicted having a good life, thriving, if you will. We looked at so many different things, and what we began to find in the 1980s, really, because the study started in 1938, so we had 40 years of data, more than 40 years of data then. And we began to find that when we looked at our 80-year-olds and we looked back at what we knew about them when they were 50, that the strongest predictor of who was going to be happy and healthy at age 80 was the quality of their relationships at age 50, not their cholesterol levels, not their blood pressure. And so we thought, well, how could this be actually? Like, it makes sense that if you had warmer relationships, you'd be happier. But how could warmer relationships make it less likely that you would get coronary artery disease or type 2 diabetes or arthritis? Like, how could that possibly be? And so we didn't believe our own findings until other studies began to find the same thing.
Of course, it's easy to understand how physical exercise or a healthy diet affects our body and how that can make us healthier because it's so tangible. But how can relationships with people affect our health?
And what we know is that when something stresses us or when there's a danger, our bodies go into fight or flight mode. Like literally our blood pressure goes up, our heart rate goes up. Lots of different things happen physiologically, and that's good because we want our bodies to be able to meet challenges. And this prepares us to do that. But then when the challenge is gone or the upsetting thing is no longer there, we want our bodies to return to equilibrium. If I have something upsetting happen in my day and I have a good listener at home or I can call someone on the phone, I can literally feel my body calm down as I talk about what was upsetting me. We think that if people don't have anyone like that in their lives, that they stay in a kind of low-level fight or flight mode where their bodies never calm down. And what that means is they have higher levels of circulating stress hormones like cortisol. They have higher levels of inflammation. And we think that those things then break down many body systems, very slowly, but they do it over time.
Recently, Dr. Waldinger published a book about his findings. But what does it mean for you and me? Before we answer and reveal some interesting tips from Dr. Waldinger, let me tell you about our sponsor, Days Coffee. So let's say you need to share with somebody about your stressful day. What better way to do it than over a cup of joe? And Days Coffee is a fantastic choice. It's roasted here in America and uniquely fermented with a patented method that rivals one of the world's most expensive coffees. But you don't have to pay $400 per pound. This one costs like a regular coffee. In fact, we got you 15% off. And when you support our sponsors, you support our work. So thank you. Thank you for giving Days Coffee a try. I personally only drink this brand at home because their process removes 90% of caffeine and it doesn't give you that jitterness or stomach aches like other coffees might. Plus, it removes all of the bitterness. So, get your 15% off when you click on the link below and use code HEALTH15 at dayscoffee.com. Now back to the story.
Everybody needs at least one relationship where they feel like the person will be there when they're in trouble. So at one point, we asked our original participants, we asked them, who could you call in the middle of the night if you were sick or scared? List everybody. And most of our people could list several people that they could call. Some of our people couldn't list anyone. And a few of them were married and they didn't list anyone. So we believe that if you don't have someone like that in your life, that's a source of stress and trouble.
And if close, healthy relationships are so important to your health, it could be said that today, the US is facing a real epidemic of loneliness. It affects 1/3 of the population between the ages of 43 and 65 more than ever before. And this is happening in an era of social media, the technology that is supposed to connect us.
Social media has perhaps made it worse. That when we look at other people's lives that they present to us on social media, I mean, think about what people present. You know, I post pictures of being on a beach or being at a party. I don't post a picture of myself when I'm hungover in the morning or when I wake up depressed. I don't do that. So when we watch other people's curated lives, if you will, it's easy to get the feeling that you're the only one who isn't having a perfect life. You're missing out. And it's worse for teenagers and young adults who are more susceptible to that because identity formation, that process of figuring out who am I, it's one of the main tasks of adolescence. So if when we're trying to figure out who we are, we look at the Kardashians posting about perfect lives, it's very easy to feel terrible about yourself. So social media may have accelerated the problem of loneliness and disconnection.
But the good thing is that there's a simpler way you can change things around.
There's a good study of people taking a train ride in Chicago, you know, the commuter train. And the study assigned people randomly. Some people, they said, just do what you normally do on the train. You know, listen to your music, read a book, whatever you do on the train, do that. The other people they assigned to talk to a stranger. And they asked everybody before they did it, how happy do you think this is going to make you? And the people who had to talk to a stranger thought this was not going to make them happy. After they were done with their assignment, they asked people again, how did you feel having done this? The people who talked to a stranger were much happier on average than the people who just did their usual thing on the train. So to your point, that when we connect with other people, first of all, it makes us happier, and it often, very often, makes other people happier. If you just strike up a casual conversation, there's also a clergy person emailed me telling me what she does, which is that she has started using people's names in public places when she meets people who are wearing name tags. So let's say the TSA person at the airport, she'll say, you know, hi, Susan, how's your morning going? And Susan, who's the TSA officer, smiles and says, whoa, this person sees me. This person is making eye contact. This person is using my name, right? Or the person who's who's the cashier at the grocery store, or the barista at the Starbucks or the Dunkin' Donuts, right? If you actually look at them, use their name, it means a lot to people because we all want to be seen instead of treated as these anonymous beings who we don't even look at as we go through our day.
So remember those places we talked about? They are governed by these ideas to this day. They are called the blue zones, and we will talk about them more in another video. And all of these ideas were alive and well in Roseto, Pennsylvania in the 1950s, but as the demographics changed, the culture changed. Today, Roseto is just an average American town with average heart disease statistics, which just proves that if you don't treasure your relationships, your health can take a hit in the long term. So ask yourself, who's that one person you're going to reconnect with today? Maybe you can share this video with them. This is Frontline Health. I'm Dan Skorbach. Stay healthy, America.